Hey everybody, it's Brett. And as the title says, I feel as though I'm stuck in a loop, just going around and around. And I don't really see anything that's particularly easy to move forward with, if you know what I mean. It's just I think it's where a lot of people are at right now, and I'm one of them, I guess. Got really pissed off at my neighbor a little while ago, and I went over and told them to stop burning wood in their yard because they were smoking me out. Then the neighbor called my landlord and complained. Then the landlord called me and complained. Blah, 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 blah. So it's not just that, though. It's just a lot of things in my life are like at a dead end, boring, not going anywhere. Solar Christmas lights. See, that's what I mean. Another dead end. God knows what that means. Well, thanks, Brenda. Christmas doesn't really excite me. It's just another time of the year when people are celebrating something like that doesn't really add up. Giving their gifts and traveling and staying with family a lot of them don't even like, etc., etc. So yeah, I don't even know why I started this. Isn't anybody going to give me some kind of feedback? Today I sewed pillows and I made a couple of videos about my annoyances with this world. It didn't seem to be a particularly valuable day. It just seemed kind of like a blah day. Isn't anybody else feeling this way? That's kind of why I started this video, this live video, to see if there was anybody else that was feeling the same way that I am. At least I'd know that I'm not alone. Today I got one comment, a little while ago I got a comment from somebody that was just like, duh, on one of the videos that I made today, so I just blocked them. I don't just block people like if they make a dumb comment, but if they've got one of those YouTube names that's like a complete idiot and they make a stupid comment, I just block them. I feel as though there's something astrologically going on in the air today. Today, like not just today, but I don't know. Today I called the guy that sells me millet hulls, and he's not typically the most upbeat person, but he's okay. He lives in the Midwest, and I called him, and he sounded just down. I mean, he's sounded down before, but I asked him, I said, Tim, how are you doing? And his answer was just like he didn't say anything for a little while. It's really not, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. But what else can you do, Braden? Just give up, like my grandpa did. I really wasn't looking forward to having to move, in all honesty. But I think I need to go look for another place because this apartment doesn't fly with what I need, which is to be able to do woodworking. And I need to live in the country away from people. It's not good for me to be right next to, in town with houses all around me like this. So I need to just get on it, be on Craigslist every day and look for a new place, probably just locally. And that's just kind of another thing. I still haven't found what I'm looking for. And it wouldn't be any kind of like an improvement, you know. It's not it's not an improvement from what I've been doing unless I can find a place that's not next to rednecks and doesn't have houses right next to me and isn't a mold emporium. You know, I mean, I can make it comical if I want to because that's what it is. I mean, it's comical and depressing at the same time. We are getting blasted with space radiation. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if we were getting blasted with something. People people have been a drag. I've been a drag. I mean, look at the videos that I made today. They were both a drag. It's just going to be a worldwide healing crisis for a while. And it's not one of those that's just a superficial one. Like, we've seen things like what happened with the economy in 2008, and we recovered with some government bailouts to the auto industry and the banking industry, blah, blah. But this is a lot deeper than that. And and here's the thing. I really need community. And so far, the whole community thing, it hasn't gone very far. And it's not like I really expected it to go far. It's just that I was wishful thinking that it might go far soon, but it's not. And the only way that it's really going to get any place is if I get someplace with my health and my finances and my connections to people. And all that is going to come around over time. There's just no way that it's going to happen in any other way. And so the question is, for me, how am I going to make the most of my time over the next several years and and remain sane? And I think that that's a big question for a whole lot of you. How are you going to hang in there while all this goes down? So I'm getting low on organic twill. And so I called the warehouse down in South Carolina this afternoon. And it was getting close to being closing time for them. And I called and I said, hey, I need this same roll of twill from you guys. I need to come get it fairly soon. And she said, I'll go and check. They weren't able to check. She said that she might be able to find me something in the morning, or she might be out of it because of the trucking problems, the shipping, all of the problems we're going through with getting goods right now. So yeah, I mean, it's not like, mostly what it's like is me complaining. Okay, things are still okay up until now, and hopefully they'll get better in those regards. But it was just not a great day. And I haven't had a lot of really great days. They've all just been kind of subpar is the word. Subpar. Yeah. And social media was a failed experiment on the public. Facebook is the worst offender. That's another thing that I feel as though I'm stuck with. Okay, so I started an account on, it's not on this, MeWe. Okay. It looks similar to Facebook, and there's a bunch of them, and they all have different pros and cons. But just like Amazon has us by the balls, Facebook also has us by the balls, but in a different way, social media. And I got some people to come over to MeWe for a while, and then after a few days, that was it. They were all, not paying attention to that website anymore. They were just back on Facebook. And so, I mean, it's the same thing with that other thing, like, okay, here I am back on YouTube, you know. And YouTube has kind of gotten its act together and chilled out, and that's a good thing. But at the same time, I deleted a whole bunch of videos that were perfectly good. There was nothing wrong with them. I just deleted them because I was afraid that I was going to get a strike from YouTube. Because every time there's a surge, they trip out, you know. They trip out, and it's all an effort to save grace. It's all an effort to stay alive. Everyone and everything is trying to stay alive in any way that it can. And that's another thing that I was thinking about a little while ago that I should mention. But whenever things get tough, the people that are really weak are the people that will do anything to stay alive because they're down to their last nub. They're down to their last dollar. They're down to their last a lot of things. And so, I mean, it's just the way that people have created this situation is scary. All of the different things that can go haywire. I often think to myself that archaeologists will look back upon these times and just shake their heads, and they'll have to go over, they'll try to explain to people in the future what humanity did to itself and why it ultimately destroyed itself, you know. And then I say to myself, Why are you thinking about those kinds of things? You know, why are you focusing on the negative? And it's it's largely because it's the reality of where we're at. We're all affected by it. It's difficult to not think about it. I'm not into video games, so I'm not sure why I have to mention that when I'm talking about a serious subject. Just as Travis Scott once said, "You are the dancing queen, young and free." What's your score on Ryder? Queen has died. I hope I don't get any shithead comments from Leak Machine anymore. So, anyways, if anybody has anything worth anything to say in the chat, it would be great. Thanks, John. Do you guys like my new room setup? It looks pretty feng shui, doesn't it? With the bookshelf in the corner instead of in the middle. So I just kind of felt like talking to a few friends tonight, but they either weren't there or couldn't talk. Hey, Braden. Good luck, Uncle Ben Tech. Google Uncle Ben Tech. Maybe I will. I went and picked ginkgo yesterday at Jared's farm, and then I brought it home and dried it out in the dehydrator. That's probably the most exciting thing that I've done lately. I went and picked up water yesterday. I kind of feel like going. Hey, Vicky. I kind of feel like going to the beach, but I've been having too many cleansing cycles to be able to feel as though I could feel confident and go. What I really need is to get stronger, and that's all I can only do that so quickly. So I don't know what else to do. So today I made 4 pillows. Oh, I'll tell you an exciting thing that I did. I added another size to my millet hole pillows for you biggins. For anybody that's like a big person, they can get an extra large pillow now. Look at Vicky. Vicky's got exclamation points behind her hey. She must be feeling good. Do I have issues going on outside? Do I plan any trips in these days? Issues going on outside? Not really. Outside of my life. I don't talk to my neighbor, the one behind that wall. And so I've kind of nullified that relationship because I knew that that would only bring me grief. And that's been kind of a success in all honesty. So I have this neighbor that I just don't like her energy. And I know that if I allow any sort of a relationship with her, that it will just bring me trouble, you know? And so what I've chosen to do is just not talk to her at all. And it's taken me some effort, but now we have that sort of a relationship, and I've never actually done that, I don't think, before to anybody. But I need to just focus on my own well-being, and I know that she won't bring that to me if I have any kind of a relationship with her, and unfortunately, I'm stuck living next to her, and so I choose to just not say anything, you know, and that's the best that I can do. And I guess that's working out. I mean, it's working out as good as I can possibly expect it to. My opinion says I agree with that. Specifically what? I don't know. Maybe that's just a comical statement. But so Ocean Sound wants a body pillow. You should know that the body pillows that I sell are best for downward sleepers. If you're somebody that likes to belly sleep, you might like this. If you've tried a body pillow before and you liked it, you might like it. I like it sometimes, but not as much as my knee ankle bolster. Last night I used it. I used it for a few hours. Whenever I'm sore on my side, I'll use it. Whenever I'm sore on my shoulders, I'll use it because it helps to get your shoulders back. I kind of feel like getting things out on the table, if you know what I mean. And so if anybody has anything to ask or say about something that's, you watched my video the other day where I made a list of things to ask people. And I feel that it makes me feel better if I do that because so many people just suppress their thoughts and their emotions. And I hate that. I can't stand just staying bottled up, clammed up, even though I'm a Cancer, you know? And so if anybody has anything they'd like to ask, yeah, yeah. I keep hoping that, but like I said earlier, Vicky, I think it's more like that it's me that'll leave because I like this place okay for a lot of different reasons. The thing is, I don't know where to go. That's been going on in my head over and over and over again. Like, what, where, how, what, where, do I go? It's just not it's like everything else, And I marvel at Gabriel Traveler for going out to Morocco and then right now he's in Italy, I think, because he goes against the grain. And I wonder what his motivations are right now for doing that. Like, is he just because if you can go against the grain of what's going on in the world right now, if you're strong enough to do that, it's a really good thing in a lot of ways, especially financially. Because it's kind of a wonder, it's like a wonder, like how the hell can he do that now? He does have his vaccine, his vaccination, but still there's just a lot of stuff going on in the world, and energetically it makes it more difficult. Yeah, a dog is a good idea, and thank you, Brett, for that response, as I am a belly sleeper at times in the night. Yeah, I miss chakra too, but you know, I was thinking to myself as I was looking at places on Craigslist, and there's not many, that I'm really glad that I don't have a pet right now to be able to have to look for a place. Without a pet, with me, just by myself, a single guy that's self-employed and making at least enough to pay the rent consistently without any problems, it's easy to find a place in some regards. But to find the kind of a place that I want, a small house in the country, is a lot more difficult. Now you add a pet to that, and it's a lot more difficult. You add a pet, regardless of wherever you want to live, and it makes it about 4 times more difficult, especially a large dog. Okay. It's probably more like 6 times more difficult with a large dog and 4 times more difficult with a small dog. And I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. Any one of you that out there that's lived in a rental when searched for a rental knows that's true. When I moved to Durango, I had a dog, just one lab, and I couldn't find anything. So what did I do? I had to move to Pagosa Springs, 50 miles away. I didn't want to move to Pagosa. I wanted to live in Durango, where it's cool and new agey and fun and health food stores and everything. But that's it. There's a high demand in Durango, and so the people that are renting, they have, the control. And that video that I made earlier in regards to the rent prices and the mortgage prices are going to go down. It's not just the prices that are going to go down and get more reasonable. It's the demands as well. And I'm telling you, I would love to go to Durango. But Durango's a lot more expensive than it was when I moved there now. Anywhere around Durango, it's worse. I'm sure it's a lot worse than Asheville. Asheville's probably not too bad now. But Durango is a very small and in-demand town. And it's a college town. It's a new agey college town. And Colorado is a hot place to live right now. And not only that, it's not my style anymore. Okay, so places like Boulder and Santa Fe and Ashland and Asheville and the one in Texas. I mean, these places, and Ithaca, New York, these places are kind of fun. They're kind of touristy. They're kind of new agey, etc. Boone, North Carolina, I went there a couple of months ago, and it's just like nuts. I've grown out of it. I'm not feeling it anymore. There was a time when I graduated high school, I really wanted to go to fun places like that. So I went up to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and spent my summers up there in '83, '84, and '85. And guess what I did in the winter times? 2 winters. I went all the way to Daytona Beach for the winter. I wanted to go to the East Coast and do something different than the West. I'd lived in the West my whole life. I wanted to go out to the East and do something. So I rode a CB 500 motorcycle all the way to Daytona Beach in the fall of 1983. I just wanted to be away from my parents. I didn't want to go back. I wanted to do something fun. I wanted to go to the beach. Daytona Beach is just a crazy freaking party place. It was perfect at the time. And but I'm not feeling that anymore. I'm feeling something totally different. And here's one of the biggest things that I'm stuck at. I'm going to describe this to you, and we'll see if you can, maybe somebody out there knows of a place like what I'm going to describe. It needs to have like, there's just no way that there's what I'm looking for. There's no way that there's anything like this out there. When I first moved to Asheville, it was kind of still, it was still cool. It was still fun. It was still eclectic. And it hadn't gotten gentrified. And for those of you that don't know what gentrification is, it means that a place becomes popular and then money takes over. And one of the things that money takes over with that's horrific in our world today is the cost of rent or the cost of housing. And so Asheville, a few years after I moved there, it was the most, it was rated and it was written about in a book as being the happiest city in America, the happiest town in America. It's a place, 100,000 people live there, roughly 90,000, 100,000. And so just like I'd mentioned in another video, like today, what rises must fall. And Asheville has now fallen into a state, especially with COVID. Asheville has fallen into a state of depression. Okay? And so I don't want to move to one of those liberal towns, especially now, because for a while it's not going to be fun. They rely on tourists, the tourist industry, the money, to come into their town. So you can imagine how it was last year. I mean, if your town was bad, if your town was depressing, Asheville was twice as bad last year. There are some videos that I made where I was just driving around and it was like a ghost town. It was like dead. You know, you'd see a few people out on the street, and that was it. And it hasn't fully recovered. But at the same time, it taught me a big lesson in the vulnerability of that side, the left side. Because you see, one of the things that keeps us going in this world, one of the most important things, is a belief in something beyond that for which is the mother, the earth. Okay? The left is big into the earth, the mother, conservation, and the love of nature, and the love of art and music and all of these wonderful things. And when you take away their concerts, when you take away their mingling, when you take away those things, it really hits them hard. And so, um, so I don't, and not only that, they allowed the money. They allowed the money to come in, and it was a vulnerability. It was a vulnerability. Like, because the people from New York and the people from Florida that were all coming to Asheville, they all wanted a piece of it. They all wanted to come, and they came and they left their money, and it spread around that Asheville was a cool and fun place to live. And so people moved there, and the desire for living there became higher and higher. And the more that happened, the more the money just went up, up, up. And the more people kept raising their rents, the more difficult it was to find a place, especially with a pet. Or there's just all kinds of things that went sour, including people's attitudes. And it's been stated that up until a person makes 70,000 roughly, give or take 10 or 20,000 or whatever a person does, that's the happiness zone. And as soon as you make more than that, as soon as you make more than that, it's said that people aren't as happy. Okay, so what I'm talking about with the gentrification isn't just a matter of money. It's a matter of time. It's a matter of quality time spent doing things that are healthy for you, for your mind, for your body, for everything. How do you highlight the name? I'm not positive, but I think that you have to put an @ sign, right, everyone? An @ symbol before the name, and you'd like to address it and it. It would be nice if you could buy some land, Brett. I am in Canada and the pandemic restrictions are ridiculous. I know. I wouldn't want to live in Canada. And I used to tell people before the pandemic that were, the Canadians that were bragging about this and that I wouldn't want to live there for different reasons. And one of them being that you have to pay into health insurance, health care. They tried to get me to do that here. I've never paid 1 penny for health care. And, there's just so many things that are a battle in this world like that. And I have to keep saying to myself, for the most part, and I'm kind of all over the place, but I have to keep saying to myself for the most part that I need to lay low. And I do that for a while, and then I get upset and I cut loose and I blast a video or I scream at a neighbor or something, because I feel frustrated. I don't know if you guys can relate. I would imagine you can. It's a good thing that jar didn't have very much water in it. I knocked it over. Wiped it up. It's my booger rag. So anyways, hey Sarah. So anyways, it's been really weird that sometimes I feel like talking to somebody, but most of the time I don't feel as though I have anybody that I can really talk to personally. I mean, some of you are okay friends, some of you are more than okay friends. But in all honesty, I don't have anyone that I'm really, really close to anymore. even old friends that I would talk to a lot. And some people refer to this as, you know, someone that they're intimate with, like a boyfriend or husband or wife, whatever. And I have things that I want to share with somebody that I can't because I don't have that somebody. And so this is about as much and about as deep as I can share, just with you guys about not being able to share. It's a hole in me. It's a hole for sure. It's a hole. So let's see. Last night I felt as though I needed to just focus on the breath. And I can always come up with something, some kind of an activity for myself to do, but it still doesn't fill that hole, the hole. But at the same time, see, for me, I have so many needs that I don't feel as though anyone in particular is even out there that can fill them all to be the one and only for me. For me, I need an eco village of people, not just not just women, but men too. And I'm not gay. I'm not bi or gay. It's just that I need men villagers to talk to too, just like women need other women that they can talk to. And the problem that I think that I'm having with finding people for this eco village is that people don't understand the concept of it and the benefits of it yet enough to want to be part of it. That's what. If I've got some questions to get into the group on Facebook, I've got questions that you have to answer to get into the group. And the list of things that I put in the description for the group is a long list and it's very demanding. And it's that way because I want to live amongst people that I can really groove with, that I can really have a good life with every day. And so it's like getting married to a bunch of people. And the reason that I feel as though that's necessary is because I've lived in the country and I know the situation in the country. See, I wanted to be part of this community in CeeLo, but I found that they weren't like-minded with me. They were here and there and this issue and that issue, but not really, you know. And I'll tell you that the thing that I hope, the thing that I feel that gives me hope about creating this kind of a community is what I'm doing now. See, the only way that I can get this kind of a community is if people understand what the logic of it is and the beauty of it is. And like, see, because I can't get everything that I need. I can't get all my needs met with just me, especially living in this town. I can get basic needs, but there comes a place of where you run into barriers, blank walls, when you don't have people that have an advanced spirituality, when you don't have people to hang out with that eat advanced food, an advanced diet, when you don't have people that are interested in living a life where they get out and go out and feed animals, or go out and raise chickens and or gardens, etc. When you don't have people that are interested in that kind of a lifestyle because they don't understand it, they don't feel it, they don't know the importance of not having to for everyone to buy everything. You can just, you can go to your neighbor and borrow something freely. Out here in the country where I lived, you can't just go over and borrow something from your neighbor freely because they're either rednecks or people just don't talk to each other. You've just got typical relationships, and people they've convinced themselves that they're happy with just having a husband and a wife and or kids and a dog. And then they have their lawn that they mow every week. They have their 2 cars and just a typical lifestyle, and they're happy with that. And in the wintertime there, it is so depressing. I mean, maybe it's not depressing for other people. I'll tell you the thing that they have. They have their Baptist churches. And they go to their churches and they get their sense of community through that. There isn't anything really else. They believe in their good book. And really, it's just like the bars. It's kind of like the bars, and how I've told you that my dad would go to the bars to get his fix with his friends. I don't think it was so much the alcohol. The alcohol was just the thing that was there. The alcohol was just the thing that was there for them to consume while they're chatting and having fun and, talking about this and that and flirting with girls and all of that. Listening to music and playing pool. It was just like a clubhouse for my dad to go to and have fun. And then the church is kind of just the same thing. The churches, and I'm not necessarily saying anything about Baptists or whoever. I'm just saying that this is the South, and that's what mostly there is out there. But it's a place for them to go and say, "Hi, Joe, how are you doing?" This and that. And then the preacher reminds them that they should be good to their fellow humans, blah, blah, because that's where they're at. For survival purposes, that's what people need to do, to be good to their fellow humans. It's still how it is. It's how it was 100 years ago. It's how it was 500 years ago. They're not to the point of where they're working on vegetarianism or veganism for the most part. A few of them might be. They're not to the point of where they really care that much about animals for the most part. Hopefully they're starting to get to the point of where they're not, okay with burning trash and smoking out their neighbors. There's all kinds of things that I've learned from living in the country that I'm really leery of, really aware of, you know. If I joined a community when I retire, it will have to be a small community. I'm not a fan of larger groups of people. People need people. You are so right about it. On a deeper level, just a like-minded, friendly, open community. Brett, if you was a vegetarian, can you sit and eat at the same table with someone who is eating a steak? I'm not a vegan or vegetarian yet, but I'm working on it. I eat as many vegan meals as I can eat. And I've come to this conclusion that when you're doing a lot of cleansing, you very well may need to go back to eating eggs and fish quite a bit. That's been the case with me. That's still the case with me. And it's not just a physical thing, it's a mental thing. My ancestors, like most ancestors, most of your ancestors, ate a lot of meat. My grandpa worked in the meat department of his own store. Every single morning, he would go in and cut meat all morning. Okay? That's what my grandpa did in his store in Payson, Utah at like 5 a.m. every morning. And, but see, I've studied health for a long time, and I know that we shouldn't be eating meat, no matter what. Even if we're eating various meats, we shouldn't be eating them every day. We have this ability because of where we live, and we have this rich country. We can buy as much meat as we want. It's all cheap and poor quality for the most part, not all of it, but a lot of it, most of it is cheap and poor quality. And people like it because it tastes good, because it's got a lot of fat in it and blah, blah. But it's not healthy. It allows people to accumulate a lot of toxins in their bodies. They can drive in heavy traffic every day because they get their dose of heavy fat from junk food and a lot of meat in that junk food. But I've been thinking a lot about every year. It seems like every year I think a lot about getting out. And I have this friend, my friend Christina goes down to Oaxaca. She's been going down to Oaxaca, other than last year with COVID. My friend Christina has been going down to Oaxaca, Mexico, and and she loves it. And she said the other day that she's going, her and her husband are going back down there again this winter. And they'll find a little place for 300 bucks a month and just go down there and they'll enjoy yoga classes and it's kind of a new agey area. But I should describe to you, like, I was going to say I should describe to you the kind of a place that I'd like to move to, but I really just don't know that it's possible for me to find kind of a new agey place that's got a good health food store and some good moderate, not too liberal people in there, you know? And maybe if you guys can think of something, I'm really, I'm really feeling like getting away from people. Do you guys feel that? Do you feel like if you live out in the east, you feel like going west? The thing is that I love the green. I love the green. And I don't see the Northeast as any place that I'd like to live. I mean, I don't feel any, I've never felt any kind of a draw to the Northeast. You know, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maine, Vermont. I've never felt any kind of a draw to those areas. New Zealand kind of sounds okay, but I mean, I can always find something that, like, the thing with going overseas or even the thing with going down to Mexico is that I have all of this stuff that I make a living with. And so I would have to figure out a completely different way to make money. So what I've been thinking about doing is just going for a month or something, just down to Ecuador, down to Mexico or something, just to see if I like it. But I have to get more ahead financially because I don't feel comfortable with it yet. Today I got an email from the Orangutan Project talking about how a couple of animal orangutan traffickers got busted, and one of them got 2.5 years in jail, and the other one got 1 year in jail. And you know, for me, I emailed him back He's a really nice guy. His name is Leaf. And I said they should have hung those mother, you know what. That's what I think, you know. Because like those traffickers take the babies away from their mothers and kill the mothers just so that they can sell those baby orangutans because they're so cute. And think about the trauma that they have to go to. I mean, these are orangutans. These are like, you know, humans. You guys remember the movie Every Which Way But Loose with Clint Eastwood? They're like little humans, you know, even more so than chimpanzees. My calendar. They're even more so like humans than chimpanzees. And imagine some trafficker grabbing you and killing your mother. But man, this world, I don't have I don't have much compassion for people. Sometimes I do. That guy that came over, my neighbor came over and told me about his troubles. I felt really bad for him. It just made it worse for him to get the vaccine. He already gotten COVID, and that was really hard on him. He's only 33. I have this neighbor, he's only 33, and he had a really hard time with COVID. And then they told him that he better get the vaccine, and now he's like seriously effed up. He says he has abdominal pain all the time. I hope that I hope that a lot of people after getting the first one and experiencing the side effects, I hope that they listen to their bodies and they figured out that they better not do those kinds of things, you know. I hope that a lot of people that have gone and done various pharmaceutical drugs, they've felt the side effects and they know that that wasn't, you know, they learned that that wasn't the answer. Those people that have gotten through the the um, the painkillers, the the painkillers that the doctors were prescribing them, and now they're kind of easing off on that. I hope a lot of those people that have gotten through it and got off of it, like my friend Greg, I connected with an old friend from San Diego in like the late 80s. I was able to connect with this friend, Greg, and he was telling me that he got on meth. He got on meth, not a pharmaceutical, but on meth, and got off of that and survived that. But I mean, so many things that people are turning to, and it's not surprising because, like, for me, this is one of my outlets. I mean, without chakra and without a few Facebook friends, I wouldn't be able to make it. There's no way. I wouldn't go back to doing any of those, you know, recreational drugs like I used to when I was young. But I don't know if I'd be able to make it. So, want to see Chakra's paw print? It's my girl. Yeah, I might do that, Sarah. Thanks. So, I might go pick, do you guys want to see what ginkgo leaves look like? I dried them out and I munched them all up into a jar, but I'll show you what they look like. Uh, they, I, Vicky, the reason I probably got that, I mean, that was thrown in with the deal when I had Chakra put down at the vet. There wasn't anything I could do, and so I had her put down at the emergency vet on Halloween of last year, and they did that for me. I mean, it was included, you know. So here's my ginkgo leaves dried out in the dehydrator. And here's one that's pretty much still a full ginkgo leaf. And ginkgo is a tree. And Jared, my friend, he it's his favorite plant. It's his favorite herb. And it looks like he planted about 12 trees. And they're just small trees now, but there's a lot of leaves on them. And that's what they look like. And I might go back tomorrow and get some more. It's really hard when you're doing a lot of healing to be around people for a lot of different reasons. And thank God the internet is here, because the internet lets us be, just sort of by ourselves, but at the same time get feedback from people. We have a ginkgo tree at our park. My son loves it. So I drink a lot of ginkgo. Whenever you guys see me drinking tea, about half the time or more, I'll be drinking that along with the yogi detox tea. I really like hawthorn berry for my heart too. And there's so many things. So this is another example. There's so many things I can improve my life, but only if I've got hands doing them in production kind of a capacity. And what I'm talking about is a community. Okay, so when I'm not just talking about like a place like Dancing Rabbit where there are sects within the community. So I went and visited this place called Dancing Rabbit, many of you know, years ago, 7 years ago in Missouri. And it's open to all kinds of people. But the main theme of Dancing Rabbit is that it's an eco village, ecology. And they're focused on saving the earth, and they're focused on minimalism and trying to have as small of a footprint as possible. And they do that very well. But that's not the theme that I want this community that I want to start as being. I want it to be like an eco village, yes, but I want it to be a holistic health eco village first and foremost. And when people are growing a lot of herbs, when people get together and they are gardening together, when people are coordinating the effort to can things, there are so many things. There are so many things that can be done better. Okay, because Doing things right in health with health takes handwork and coordination. It takes a lot of effort and teamwork, and there can't be any waste. Okay, so if 10 people are living separately, 10 families or 10 individuals are living separately, and they all need this or that, they all need computers, they all need a chainsaw. Okay, so all 10 of them, they all buy chainsaws, and it cost a total of $4,000 for all these chainsaws. But a community just buys one chainsaw or maybe two chainsaws. And that goes with all these different things, a ladder, or the building of when the Amish build a barn. They all get together because they know that when they get together, not only does it make it fun and a community effort, but it also means that they can lift big things and they can move a lot of things. And I mean, it's like going to a yoga class. When you go to a yoga class, I mean, if you want, you can just do yoga at home by yourself. Okay, so what that creates is loneliness disease. That's what I have, loneliness disease, LD. Okay, so there are so many things that can be done in a community of like-minded people that understand the benefits of what I'm talking about, which is why I'm telling them to you. Because some of you might be interested, but you have to be on the same page. If you're, I know this girl, she lives in Tampa, and she seems really interested. And But at the same time, I see her posts, and all of her posts are she's just young. She's a partying thing. She's a party meister. And half of her posts are at the bars or some dance club or some concert, etc., etc. And and there's no way that she's even close. She's not even close to being or where she could get along, where she could coexist and live, da da da, so many things. And I just know this because I've been doing this for a long time. And you guys see how long I've been doing this. And you see, if you go back through my videos, you'll see how many different modalities, how many different thought processes, how many different practices, whether it be a mental, physical, spiritual, or emotional thing that create a person, and so much contemplation. See, this my journey towards this community started 21 years ago when I got the community's directory before the internet came out. And I started looking at that and I was like, this is what makes sense. This is what makes sense. Nobody had ever told me about communities. I may have heard about hippie communes. I may have heard about that. But that never appealed to me, a hippie commune, you know? I mean, I may have thought it was interesting or something. But like things that, and people have told me like, oh yeah, yeah, we know about that open relationship thing with where it's just free love, man. Yeah, we just know about that, where everybody is all humping each other every day and nobody knows whose baby that is. Yeah, we've heard about that, man. That's not what I'm talking about. People assume things. It's human nature. It's human nature to assume things. All he wants is to just get a bunch of girls in the sack. So I've told you about how I come from a Mormon background. They don't really think like that with the Mormon thing, that it's a weirdity. I think it's a genetic weirdity. But you're looking at somebody that's not from that kind of a background. That's only a little piece of where I'm from. I was a massage therapist for 10 years, talking to people about because I'm not the kind of a massage therapist that would sit and just work on people quietly. I mean, yes, sometimes I wouldn't say a word. They wouldn't say hardly a word to me for the full hour or two or whatever. But but most of the time, there would be some degree of conversation between me and the person on the table. And 80% of the time, it was women coming to me for a massage, to be touched. And a lot of those times, it was because they weren't getting touched at home, or they needed to talk to somebody about something that they couldn't talk about with their husbands, you know? And I knew it. I knew it either because I talked to them about it and they told me about it, or because I just felt it. And so just having one person as your mate, I mean, it's some people they may have found somebody that's good enough to last them a whole life, but I think it's very, very limiting. I think it's very limiting, and I think it's very depressing sometimes for a lot of people, depending on how far they let the relationship go. You know, I think it can really hold people back from where things that they want to go to because they've decided, well, I'm just going to stay with this person for whatever reason. And so I can't improve my diet. I can't do anything different in a lot of ways because it would make them feel uncomfortable. Um, Not Charles Manson. True. No offense, but if you are the one who gets this thing going, and if you run the show to a larger extent, anyone who steps out of line will blow your mind out of sync. Uh, it's not a matter of finding perfect people. It's a matter of finding just ballpark people. Just ballpark people. They don't have to be outgoing like me, you know. They don't have to be really opinionated like me. They just have to be health people. I'm not looking for a miracle. I'm just looking for people that are smart enough to see the benefits, that have been living a life for quite a while that coincides with getting healthy. There's a few people that I think are there in the group. Katie is probably one of them. Because you see that there's only so much time in the day. And after you've lived long enough, you start to understand that you don't want to spend more than 4 hours a day working for other people to be able to buy things from the outside world. You want to spend a lot of time getting your feet dirty. You want to spend a lot of time petting animals, and you want to spend a lot of time out in the sunshine, and you want to spend a lot of time maybe reading or painting or those kinds of things. And when you live in a world of modern things, you know, expensive and modern things made by other people like houses and all of the things attached to a house that people think are conveniences that only make them weaker. When you have all of these things that need to be serviced and replaced, etc., like washing machines and dryers and septic tanks that have to be cleaned out by the septic man every year. So you can't just have a septic tank. You have to have this truck that has a big tank on the back of it, and once in a while they have to come out and clean out all the gunk on the bottom of the septic tank. and to check it and, to inspect the septic tank. And it costs money for these things, and plumbing and electricians. And see, I can and have been visualizing this house, a bunch of houses, all kind of in a village, all facing towards the south, with windows facing towards the south and greenhouses on the south of each house. And um, and all natural materials made with the hands of people that want to live in them. And there are so many things that are so red flagging indicative of the kinds of lives that people live now, in which they don't grow any of their own food. See, the more you think about, a lot of you will think that that's ridiculous because you haven't thought about it very much. The more you think about it, and the more you understand the benefits, like if you watch John Kohler growing your greens on YouTube, there's a bunch of people that are promoting getting out and just working in the garden. And right now, I'm in a situation where I can't have a garden. I could maybe have like a few plants in the back in soil that's probably been sprayed with pesticides. And but but the weirdity of the whole thing is the strangeness, the obscurity of the whole thing is that if you were to tell people, if you were to tell them that if they don't have the time to grow their own food, at least say 50%, at least 50% like vegetables, and if you haven't spent time planting fruit trees, that's what Jared is doing right now. He's planting all kinds of trees and herbs and stuff on his property. But if you don't have the time to do that, then there's something wrong with your life. They would say, no, that's just, that's obviously wrong because I don't have time to do any of those things, and my life is doing okay. My life is doing fine. But it's not sustainable. And the reason that it's not sustainable is because you're not getting sunshine, you're not squatting and bending over and pulling weeds and doing all of these activities that your ancestors have done for God knows how long. You're not listening to the birds, you're not feeling the wind, you're not getting exposure to so many different things that are really, really good for your health, pretty much required. And so I'm telling you this because it's true. I'm telling you this for a lot of different reasons, but one of them is that I'd like to see some people, usually 500 maybe, will watch a video like this, a live video like this. And hopefully along the line here, I mean, I don't need a lot of people to join with me and buy some land. I just need some. And and we could rent a house together, and that would be a good preliminary space to be in to see if we're compatible. It wouldn't be optimal because I don't like living with people that much. I mean, I've had roommates before and I've done okay with roommates, it's fine. But it's not, ultimately, you want to be able to have each individual wants to be able to have needs to be able to have their own little house. I mean, think about it. Having your own little house. That doesn't mean that some people can't stay over, friends, lovers, whatever, can't stay over, or you can go over to their house. It would be like a sleepover. It'd be fun, between friends. But it would be a situation of where you have your own house that you can live in and be by yourself which is like you and God. You're just like this, you and God, but you're not connected to somebody directly that you don't like because you come to know them and you know that you generally like them, and there's nothing that they can do. Like a lot of you know that even if I say something that's kind of because I'm in a bad mood, like today, I made a couple of videos. I've not been in a good mood. That's why I'm making this video. So if you hear me saying something, you're not going to just shun me because you've known me for years. You're not just going to say, oh, screw it. I'm going to unsubscribe to Brett because he's being a jerk today. And he said something about liberals, and I'm a liberal. I lean liberal. If people lean liberal or they lean conservative, that's totally fine. I lean one way sometimes and I lean another way and other times, and it depends on the issues and stuff. But the point is that you're not going to just like blow me off because you know me and you know that I'm a decent person and you know that I'm like centrist and you know that you generally get good stuff from me. And so that's how it would be in a community. It wouldn't always be roses. It wouldn't always be a place where, sorry. So what I'm trying to say is that I'm not promising paradise, and it's not going to be the Garden of freaking Eden, you know? It's not going to be any kind of a fantasy. And it's not going to be easy because, you know, but what I'm saying is that it could be a wonderful place, better than anything that you've experienced before. But the people have to be smart. The people have to be like healthy and smart. At least they have to have done the work. And I'm not saying perfectly healthy because nobody's perfectly healthy, especially like people people that would want to be in people that watch a channel like this, people that would want to be in a community like that. If people are really healthy, they're not into doing these kinds of things. It has to be a special person, somebody that that's been through the ringer probably. You don't watch my channel because you haven't been through health issues. You watch it because one day you were having knee pain, or one day you were having indigestion, or you had gas and you watched my fart video. I got a comment this morning. It didn't work. Once in a while. Usually when I teach people about that fart method that my stepbrother told me when you stick your butt in the air, that almost always works. But once in a while people will write, it didn't work. And I'll tell them, no, it's probably because some poo was in the way. It gets stuck and the gas gets stuck behind it. You have to massage your abdominal region deeply to get it to move past it. But see, one of the things that I'm stuck with, that I'm so stuck with, is that I live in this small town and I only have a few people that I can talk to. And I like Jared, but Jared has his commitments. He can't be a close friend. He's everyone's friend. Jared, my friend Jared, is everyone's friend that much. Have you ever met somebody that they're like liked by a lot of people, and so they can only spread their, like, here's Jared's pie, and everyone gets one little tiny slice of it. Yeah, that's Jared. Jared likes and respects me for who I am. and Jared's an entrepreneur with entrepreneur genes. Jared's family are the big wig construction people of this town. And so Jared is like the hippie kid with the parents that are like, well known here. And so that's our connection, but it only goes so far because of different reasons. And, you know, my friend at the health food store that owns the health food store, she's only a friend up to a certain point because she's married and she has all of these. She basically has enough time for me for about 1 minute before she has to go back to ordering things at the health food store. That's what she sits and does half the time while she's there, is looking at this herb and looking at that product and this and that and ordering this and ordering that. And so she's just busy, busy, busy. And I don't want to be busy like that. But I need like friends that I can really talk to. Like I can really talk to. And I don't have them. My other neighbor has a sweet lime. It needs a good pruning. The limes just hang there on the tree. At least the sparrows get some free sweet citrus. I don't value many relationships in my life unless I know the other friend, partner, coworker, etc. will be there for me just as much as I know I would be there for them. I like to let true colors show. Yeah. I've been watching Cyndi Lauper videos from the past. True colors. I see your true colors shining through. Don't ask me why I was watching Cyndi Lauper. Probably because I find her not to be like me in most ways, but I find her to be so likable because she was so genuine. Kind of like Gomer Pyle or I don't know. Have you guys ever like I like that about it's kind of how I felt at least about North Carolina people because it reminded me of the Andy Griffith show where people would just say anything, say whatever they felt, say whatever they thought. I don't think that they're near as genuine as they once were. I don't know specifically why. I think that people are afraid to show their true colors and let them shine through. And that includes myself, especially. I just like to have a community to live with beyond this community of chat, the chat box, you know. There it is, the chat box. And I'm not really complaining about it. It's just that I want more. I mean, I'm sure you can understand. It's good to have people in your life that will genuinely hear your inner thoughts out loud and speak back with genuine feedback. I don't like small talk. I don't care what NFL teams are playing. I like what Wavy has to say about things. And I like the name too. I didn't realize that I had this much to talk about tonight. There's a lot of things that made me really sad. there's something in particular that I have hesitated to want to talk about very much in depth because it's really difficult for us to swallow, but it's our best friends, dogs and cats. One of the reasons that I'm not getting another one, at least right now, is because I know that dog food is so less than optimal for them. And the thing that's really difficult about it is that people eat a lot of the same food, specifically chicken, that dogs eat. And and dogs are getting the byproducts. Dogs are not only just getting that crappy Cornish crossbreed chicken, but they're getting the byproducts of it. And it's such a poor quality. It's such a poor quality. I think that Chakra lived a fairly decent life. I mean, I did the best that I could, but see, that's just another thing, okay? When you're a single person, you ask any single mother out there, okay? You ask any single father out there how hard it is to raise a kid on your own. How much easier would it be to raise a kid in a community of people? That right there is just one perfect, absolutely perfect example of how if you can find like-minded people to buy some land with, and you really think it out logically when you go to build your houses and everything that you do, everything is like smartly planned. You can create a community that's so much more advanced than your typical average community. Like just off the top of my head, I could name dozens of ways, dozens and dozens of ways. People around here and in most neighborhoods, they don't have relationships with their neighbors. They might be friends with a few neighbors, but nothing to the extent of where they're really able to benefit to the point of where they're freeing up time and money and everything to be able to live better lives. And for me, even if this never manifests, even if it never flies, for whatever reason, I still feel as though there's no way that I can ignore it. I can't just ignore something that I've been dreaming about, thinking about for 20 years. It's not just that I've been thinking about it for 20 years. It's in my Danish, yeah, Danish. I forget the names for the different. It's in my Danish heritage. It's in my Swiss heritage. You know, I'm one of my great grandparents was Swiss, and the Amish come from Germany and Switzerland. But then most of my like half of my ancestors are from Denmark, and Denmark is the north of Germany. And a lot of community mindset, you know, it's a logical way to live. It's a more logical way to live. I mean, it can be shown exactly how and why it works. I get that you want a community of only people you jive with, but isn't it just wishful thinking to live in a fully homogeneous community? It's not that we can be completely separate. It's not that you can never be completely separate. And that's another issue. That's another serious issue. Because just today I was thinking about the ramifications of being in a country where they've focused so much and they've made weapons so much of a money-making thing and so much of a control thing over the world. I mean, there has to be some kind of backlash against that, and we all know it and we all feel it, okay? There are so many industries, so many companies in this country that are reliant upon and addicted to the making of weapons. And it's one of the many things that's really a red flag for me for buying land here, anywhere. Because, I mean, there have already been some instances of where there could have been nuclear war. There was one with Kennedy back in the 60s. Just recently, we had a time of where they say that in the final days of Trump, there was a possibility that China was thinking that he might push the button. There's just so many things that could happen between us and Russia still has so God knows how many nukes, and China, India has nukes, Pakistan has nukes, and now freaking North Korea has nukes. France has nukes. Everyone has all these weapons pointing at each other. And for me, one of the things that I'm really working on in my life is to disconnect from polarity. And that means people that I don't want to have any kind of association with, any kind of anything with, because I know that the more I create any kind of, and I engage with them, I'm around them, and it's not just, so where I'm going with this is what kind of, if you were to completely wipe the slate clean, okay, in regards to countries to live in, and you were to ask, and you were to still have the knowledge about natural health and what your desires would be with living in a place for natural health and healing, you would probably say that you'd want a peaceful place, an unpolluted place, an ecological minded place, a place sort of like New Zealand, sort of like Costa Rica, sort of like a small village in Ecuador, sort of like those kinds of things. But you probably wouldn't say that you want to live anywhere in the United States, in all honesty. Oh, how I wish I could have been born long, long ago. I know there was diseases, pandemics, no doctors, no artificial medicine, etc., and I'm fine with that. I can't outweigh living in a genuine free world. I would like to live in a community, but I know how it goes down. People will clash heads, not get along, not agree, and argue. Okay, so that's why I think that the only way it can start is with a seed. And so for the last year, it's been since I started the Facebook group, Holistic Homesteading Eco Village, yada yada, and 4 months since I started the YouTube channel, that I decided that I wanted to be the seed to start it. Who else is going to? And I just initially I was hoping, I was really into it. I was really writing a lot of articles. I'd write at least an article every single day, and I wrote dozens. I may be over 100 articles now, all different kinds of things, the benefits of this and the how much better it would be, and the detriments of the society we live in now, and the strains for having to pay for all of this money for a mortgage, and all these different things. And a lot of people really liked it, and I came to realize over time that it was going to take a lot of time for me to save money because it's most likely that I just have to save up at least $10,000, probably more, and just go out and buy the land on my own and then hope that I can get some help. That's what I still think. It wasn't going to be something like, and it wouldn't be logical to like just, you know, get together with people all of a sudden that I don't know really well, like you, Ambronte, because that might happen. We might just be at each other's throats, you know? We might hate each other after a week or a month or a couple of months. After a couple of months, we know each other better and we just decide that we don't like each other. And so I came to this conclusion that it's going to take time. But the thing is that a lot of you have been watching me for years. You know me because I'm an open book. I'm not somebody that hides very much. There are some things in my mind that I've not told you or talked about. But you, a lot of you, probably know me well enough that you can imagine how I am, even the things that I've not told you about. And so that's a good first step. See, that's a really important first step. Think about it, okay? So I have found that a lot of my friends on Facebook have become friends together because they agree with me about a lot of things that I talk about, you know. They have attitudes. Okay, so they have similar attitudes is what I was going to say. But one of the things that I have to work on, I know, that a lot of my friends, a lot of you have to work on, that you also have problems with, anger issues, okay? And a lot of you are probably laughing right now. I'll talk about more about that in a second, but I have to pee. I'll be back in a minute. So, so yeah, you know, when you're somebody like me, just to explain in regards to anger issues, when you have figured things out with society that affected you and caused you grief with, you know, things that when you were growing up, things that you were exposed to growing up, and you think to yourself, hey, they knew that that was bad for me. Why didn't they, it makes you really suspicious. It makes you really angry. It makes you want to get away from people. In cases like with me, it makes you want to make videos lashing back at society and calling people stupid. I do that quite a bit, even though, even though it's true, I really want to fulfill my needs, my community desires and other things, and hopefully get to a point of where I'm kind of past that, you know. I've bitched enough about things, and I'm improving my own life, and I'm working on my own life, and what else can I do? Attitude. That's kind of where I'd like to get to be. But a lot of the people that watch me also have a lot of the same feelings because they see all the idiocies of this world. And so that's kind of one of the main purposes. Okay, so one of the ways that you can feel better and not have to deal with all of the insanity of the world is to get away from it. And yes, you can achieve. I believe you very well can. And that's why people move to the country largely, to get away from people. I guarantee you that if I were to go out into the country here or anywhere, and I were to ask people, would you ever move back to the city? Most of them would say, hell no, there's no way that they would ever move back to the city, even though it's lonely in the country. From living in the country, I can tell you that one of the worst things about living in the country, even if you have a wife and kids, is that it's lonely and boring. And you can ask my friend Paul. He's bought some land near Chattanooga, and I've got to know him through both of us wanting to start a community. He's the opposite of me in that he's a lot more accepting of anybody, at least to a degree, to come and live at his community. As long as, they agree to pay for their part of the land and various things. He's not near as picky as I am. And that's because, I've refined my life a lot. I've refined my life so much, with so many things, with health. And I couldn't live with people that weren't at least in the ballpark. It wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work, I can't have people that are like, there's a zillion things. And so, yeah. And it's hard to grasp and comprehend when you have trillions of things going on around you. That's why I believe peace of mind is the cure for all. Thanks, Jackson. Jackson's my $10 donator. Brett, can you elaborate on what issues you're referencing when you say they knew it wasn't good for us? If it's too personal, that's understandable. They knew that mercury fill-ins weren't good for us because they knew that mercury was not good for the human. They knew it was poisonous for the human body. Junk food, they've known that sugar was demineralized, yet and I'm talking about the people that make the candy bars, the people that work at the bakeries, all the people that make all of those processed foods. What else? Somebody else, fluoride too, yeah. There are all these things. There's a lot of things that are addictive, a lot of addictive things that people they've known that they've kind of been like hush hush things. That's what they are. They're like hush hush things that they're afraid to talk about, they don't want to talk about, They've got a business that's dependent upon selling these things over and over again to people, and the people have bought into these things and they're addicted to them. And so they can't get themselves out of it. They're stuck in a hole, they're stuck in a rut, and they're going around and around in a circle. And so it was normal. It was normal for me to be 5 years old and getting fillings filled in my mouth. 4 years old. 4 years old. Imagine. Imagine going to the dentist, right? At 4 years old. And a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, I did that. I went at 4 years old. And I'm telling you, I'm here to tell you right now that that's not the way that it's supposed to be. That's not how it is in a village where people are eating natural foods. It's a modern disease. It's an English thing. It's a first world thing, all of that. And then everything that's connected to it. I was thinking about yesterday, the person that taught me how to swallow a pill. And it doesn't surprise me. I remember who the person was that taught me how to swallow a pill when I was just 6, something like that. And it was my grandma Rogers. By the time my grandma was in her 50s, she got addicted to drugs, painkillers. She got on a whole lot of different kinds of drugs. And she was on so many that they had to wean her way off of them. And this was the person that taught me how to swallow a pill. She also taught me how to make a bed. I remember the day my grandma taught me how to make a bed at her house when we were visiting her. And she died sick and fat and full of drugs. And then my grandpa was really depressed about it, and he remarried his best friend's wife. His best friend died. He remarried his best friend's wife to try and fill grandma's shoes. That didn't work out. He had urinary incontinence. He had various health problems, and he killed himself. Thank you, Michael, too. My other Michael Jackson. It's so strange. I have 2 Michael Jacksons that watch my videos. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, asbestos. There's so many different things. Carpet, and like people buy into things. Wall to wall carpet. I mean, I remember a day I remember a time when that came out and that got to be big, you know? And everyone thought like that was a big selling point for an apartment or a house. It's got wall to wall carpet, you know? And people became health stupid. People invented things that they thought were just the you know what, and they became health stupid. They accepted these things, and couches are still just the thing. Couches are such the thing still. People have to have a couch in their living room. And I've had to decombobulate. I've had to dismantle. I've had to dismantle all of these things and go back to the old ways and figure like I've had to go back like how did they sit in a chair? What did chairs look like in the 40s, 30s, 40s? What did chickens look like before World War II? What was rubber? What's the natural substitute for rubber? Do human beings really need dairy foods? And if so, like why? I've had to go through all of these different things and figure out what I don't need and what I do need. And how, like, I'm still figuring out, I'm constantly thinking about, like, where can I go next? Is it possible for me to find someone to make my wood products for me so that I can live somewhere else? Is it, I mean, it's just that right there. Because my stuff is handmade. And when I make stuff, there are God knows how many little things that make them really good. Just to teach somebody how to make a millet hull pillow, that would not just be a day's venture. That would be like somebody would need to work with me for a week or two, because cutting sizes, I mean, there's so many things for me to be able to move forward. So I've gone back and I've figured out what was, that I don't want carpet in my house. I figured out that I don't want smoke in my house the hard way. I figured that out. That's another story. So, and I've gone out and I learned that lesson, that one as an example, the smoke lesson. I learned that well, and I know now. I've learned the redneck lesson, and I've learned that really well now. I learned those lessons to the point of where if I make those mistakes again, of where I get myself into a redneck or a smoke situation, I will be like, shame on you. You made that mistake before. And how dare you make that again? I would be so mad at myself. So, yeah, it'd be easy, Wednesday. It would be easy if I were gay. I mean, how easy would it be? I could go down to Asheville to the gay bar. I mean, there's holistic gay people in Asheville. I'm sure I could meet some lovers. It'd be easier. It might, maybe I'm lying. I don't know. Maybe I'm full of it. Because I'd still have to find holistic people to hang out with. What's my favorite Jackson song? ABC, easy as one, two, three. I don't know. I'm not a Michael Jackson fan at all, really. I think he was really talented, and that's another thing. Like I've examined so many different things, you guys, and girls, and gays, and trans. I've investigated so many different things. And you should know that I like gay people. Sometimes I have gay clients. Sometimes I like them a lot because they're really generally very intelligent people, more so than average, quite a bit more so than average. They can be very moody. They can be they're they're just like everyone else, but they're just kind of different. But when you live in Asheville, there's so many gays, there's a lot of lesbians. And I had some Jill and her girlfriend, mate, they're probably married now. Jill, I'm trying to remember my clients. But anyways, let me drink some more water. I am getting healthier physically. I'm getting rid of a lot of gunk still out of my body. Um, I keep making adjustments. Like I got rid of peanut butter, and I found that eating whole peanuts after you've chewed them up, it's totally different than eating peanut butter that's been mashed by some machine. If you put that in your mouth, you'll see that it's a lot smoother when it's been mashed by a machine, and the texture is completely different. There's no way that your teeth can grind it up exactly like a machine does. And it's very different than when it's in your digestive system. Another thing is that I got rid of rice bread. I haven't had any rice bread, and I ate that for a long time. And I wondered for a long time, will I ever be able to just completely get rid of this? And I found an adequate substitute, and that is just making my own flatbreads in a pan. And here's the thing and I hope that I'm not, too scrambling all over the place with this, but if I finish a subject, then I just feel like moving on. I don't want to beat something to death. I don't want to beat the wall-to-wall carpet or the I'm not gay or whatever to death. But I found that when I have to make the food myself, and that's just another one of so many, many advantages to living in a community. And no, I'm totally not against, I'm totally anybody that's into natural health, whether they're gay or trans or whatever. I'm so good with, from having lived in Asheville, I can totally love somebody that's whatever, anything. And colors too, black, Hispanic, whatever. If they're progressive and cool and health nuts, I am so totally good with anyone that's like-minded like me. And if you're watching my videos, then you are, I mean, either that or you're insane, or you're just a wannabe. A lot of people are. They go back to their same old yada yada the next day, and they don't do anything that I recommend or whatever. So there's nothing that I can do about that, and so I just choose to do my best. That's what I do. I do my best as your YouTube health person, one of them. But so when I don't have a loaf of food for life rice bread that I'm able to just grab at any time out of the freezer or fridge and heat up in 10 seconds, then I have to ask myself the question, do I have vegetables available? Maybe I have potatoes and other starchy food available to me. Maybe I just can do with a salad. It forces me to progress more to where I want to go. The more I can get rid of processed foods, and these are whole processed foods, okay, so these are acceptable foods in my book, but that if I can consume them in a different manner that's more progressive, takes more effort, it takes more effort. And that's why I tell you that your lifestyle is so totally important in regards to being able to live better. And this community thing that I'm talking about it's about 4 steps above where I'm at now. Those other 3 steps, I don't know what those might be. There might be more of them. All I can tell you is that it's my ultimate goal. It's my ultimate dream. It's the way to take the health thing to a level beyond anything else that's going on in this world. Because I've looked on Facebook and I've looked on YouTube, and there are lots of communities out there. There are all kinds of communities, communes, whatever you want to call them, cults. There are all kinds of cults out there. There are nudist colonies. There are religious things of all different sects out there. There are gay communities for those of you that want to just live with a bunch of gays or lesbians, whatever, in the woods, in Alaska, wherever. There are all kinds of communities. But the number one thing that should be the number one thing in people's lives, and I want to thank Jackson and Ocean Sound both again for donating tonight. I really appreciate you. But the um, the ultimate thing that people don't understand is the ultimate thing is that without health, you can forget it. You can be Donald Trump, you can be anyone with billions and billions of dollars. But as soon as your heart clogs to the point of where you have cardiac arrest, then it's it. That's it. You're done. As soon as your digestive system is no longer functioning well because your mind is too strained, and your mind and your stomach are connected so intimately that if your mind is stressed like mine is pretty much now, then it's not a good time to eat, and you can be like Mr. Rogers and get stomach cancer and die. And and people don't realize that they have to work hard for health. And one of the things, like, I'm with this community, it's a pioneering thing. It's like I'm in a place. Thank you, Michael. I'm in a place just like Lewis and Clark. It's totally different, but it's totally the same. Being in a place of wanting to start something that's very different. See, so I had to go crazy with it. I had to go crazy with it, and I changed the name twice, and I added things, and I refined it and made it even more refined. I told people that I wanted to make it an open relationships community because I knew that's what I wanted. And I decided that since it was going to take a long time, I decided that since it was going to take a long time to find the right people, and that I needed to be really open and honest about the kinds of people that I wanted to find, I was like, there are enough people out there that are getting into just being single and open, and they're starting to realize that that's the best way to be, and to be a strong individual, not to be a couple, okay? So I've come to this realization, not just because I'm older now, and not just because I've been doing all this healing and things. There are a lot of reasons why I've come to this conclusion that I want to be an individual, not single, not a couple, not married, not a mister, not a whatever. As a human being, that's another thing that you could describe it. It's just a generality, okay? I want to be an individual. I am an individual. I want to stay an individual, but I want to have relationships. This is a different thing, especially if we're talking about I want to have relationships in a community. I want to have intimate relationships with more than one person in a community. I want to have friendship relationships with more than one person in a community. I want to have gardening relationships. I want to have work relationships. I want to have all kinds of different intimate and spiritual and sexual and more meaningful. I want to have like meaningful, real relationships with people that I have things in common with, all in my own little and our own little community. It's and it takes people, it will take people a lot of talking about, a lot of reasoning about, a lot of understanding about, a lot of um, a lot of acceptance. It'll take people a lot of revamping their minds from what they've been conditioned to from this society. Because the way that I've come to these conclusions about what I really want and what I think would be a lot better is by examining things, examining the feelings and feeling the feelings about and seeing how people live and seeing their facial characteristics and feeling how it would feel for a man or a woman to come home to a relationship that they hate, that no longer serves them, that they agreed to till death do them part a long time ago, and now it's dead. And and also just like there's so many things that have led me to understand that we have to get past the mindset of monogamy. And I know that I understand the purpose of it. I understand the reasoning. I understand the reasoning, but the reasoning for, the children and all of that. But we still have to get past all of that. I feel like people are too brainwashed to live like that or to be open enough to live like that. A friend here once told me sex isn't what life is about, just a complement to make life better. Yeah. Winsty got blocked. Sorry, Michael. Yeah, does anybody else have any other comments? Maybe we could just do a meditation for a few minutes. Okay, Brett, we won't tell the children until you realize it was me all along. I don't understand that. So, this is German chamomile. And it's only 10:49 because we changed the clocks back. So I'd like to do a meditation. You guys can join me if you want to. I'm just going to focus on the breath going in and out. I was thinking about how Paul McCartney was talking about in a video the song, um, is it called Lonely People? All the lonely people, where do they all come from? All the lonely people, where do they all belong? And considering myself to be one of those, sometimes I wish I were different, but I think it just goes along with being me. Do you know what I mean? Many of you can probably imagine that that's just where I'm at. My astrology chart has a lot of 12th house in it. The 12th house is the house of isolation. It's the house of your undoing. So far, that rings true with where I'm at. And Eleanor Rigby, yeah. I was just stretching, Vicky. I hope you're doing better with your missing your dog, Vicky. I just had the 1 year anniversary of my losing Chakra. I went to visit Chakra yesterday at Jared's farm, and something told me that her spirit had left. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's true or not. But something had told me that her spirit had left either this world or this area or something. She's still within me. She's still within me, but not so much in this world. I hope that she gets like a better existence, you know. Living with me was not, as you can imagine, the easiest with all the healing that I've done. Not the easiest thing. And it's another reason why um, I have to get to a point. I have to get to a point of where I'm ready to be a community leader. And I just imagine that, you know, when all things come into alignment, then all that will manifest. And there's really, you know, it's not any different. It is different, but as an example, when I was, and I'm sure you all feel the same, like you all want to be healed overnight, at least to one degree or another. It's just another problem with the drugs. They promise to be healed in 2 weeks, you know. A 2 week course of antibiotics will get you past your woes. And then we found out that after we got off them that the woes came back because we didn't change our diets and our lifestyles. But that's how I wanted it to be. That's how I wanted it to be when I first started. I wanted to be healed overnight. And I thought, well, maybe after a while I thought maybe I can do this in a year. And then after a year I thought, well, just another year, another 6 months and I'll be there. And now I don't project really any kind of an ending to this whole thing, you know. I just really kind of hope that it will level off and not be so crazy. But the whole COVID thing just amplified everything. I've probably had it a couple of times. I've probably felt a lot more grief from the world than actually catching it. The whole stress from everyone else is a lot worse than the disease itself. You're welcome, Vicky. No. Vicky's dog was Boomer. It's a cute little, kind of a Shih Tzu looking dog. 10:59. So I'm gonna try and eat more hemp hearts now. I got a couple of pounds of those in the mail today. And I've got to keep up with keeping enough peanuts in stock because that's one of my go-to foods to reduce meat. And so the last time that my grocery store had organic peanuts in the bulk section, I bought a whole bunch of them, but I'm starting to run out now. So yesterday I decided that I better order some online. And I like to order them in shell, but they didn't have any more. People buy them really fast. But the reason that I ordered them online is because the grocery store here doesn't have any and hasn't had any for a couple of weeks now. They do have peanut butter, but like I said, I kind of worked my way out of that and just I'm eating whole peanuts now. But I'm really kind of keeping an eye out for things because we can run low on them and not have any. And so I'm hoping that I can get some more twill in the morning, but they have it and they'll reserve it for me. And I may have to make a trip down to South Carolina. And a roll of that is about $1,000. 100 yards is about $1,000. But it's the good stuff, and that's a lot of pillows, y'all. That's a lot of millet hull pillows. It's like it's probably in the neighborhood of 400 millet hull pillows. That's a lot. Have I tried quinoa flakes? Recently bought a box imported from Peru. Anxious to have it for breakfast. I don't know that I've had quinoa flakes, Joe. I mostly just make whole quinoa. You mix it 2 to 1, and it cooks really fast and easy. You can cook it in a slow cooker in 40 minutes, maybe an hour, something like that, which is relatively fast, a lot faster than any other grain. And you can buy it in red and black too. The Christmas time is really a difficult time for me. I found last year that it wasn't as difficult as it had been in the past. I really kind of had to condition my mind to not be in that space of needing Christmas. And the hardest part is that if you're not, like into the Christmas thing and everyone else is, that's the hardest part of it. But Linda will send me a Christmas card probably. I kind of long to be more like Linda, and I don't know, there must be something about me that Linda likes that she longs to be more like me. But she's my friend Linda, where I stayed in Oregon. Maybe you watched a few of those videos about 7, 8 years ago, something like that, 7 years ago. I did some CBD oil today, and I think it's good. My friend Linda is really level. I don't think she goes through the emotional ups and downs that I do. I mean, I know she doesn't. And I wish I could be a lot more level like she is. She's just solid. One of those people that doesn't flinch about things. She's really wise and she's an old soul. And I stayed in her little guest cottage next to her house for a month and a half when I was in between places after I had left that place in Woodfin in Asheville. Brett, what do you think of CBD oil? Also, I was thinking today that maybe I should sell CBD oil. Everyone in their gourd is selling CBD oil now. And my friend Paul, the one that I'd mentioned that's starting a community near Chattanooga, he made his money from that. Okay, because he got it started with it really early, a long time ago, and he was selling it on Amazon. And he doesn't make near as much now, obviously, because there's a lot more competition. But I don't know, I just do so many things already, and it's already saturated. The market's already saturated with too many people that are selling CBD oil. But I'll tell you that the kind that I like is Blue Bonnet. And I like it just from having done research on which ones are the strongest and which price ones cost the best, best price. So it's easy to remember the name Blue Bonnet, especially for people that used to consume Blue Bonnet margarine or some other kind of a Blue Bonnet product. Plus, Christmas is all about commercialism. That's a lots of bunch of pillows. Yes, it is. It's a lot of pillows. And I think I should be able to go down with just the car if I take the seat out of the right side of the car. I don't want to have to haul the trailer all the way down there. But the roll is really long. It's like 92 inches. It's a 92-inch roll. Sorry, but try if you can to separate the event from the holiday and you will grow out of the connection to Christmas time. I did it. It takes time. The event to the holiday. I would say that's kind of another thing that's hard for me. I used to enjoy holidays when I was young, but it was always a letdown when they were over, especially Christmas and going to grandma's house, because it was just a high. Going to grandma's house was such fun. As much ice cream as we could eat, as much anything that we could eat. It was just an eat-a-porium, And it's kind of I know it's hard to swallow that all of that was overexpanded, that all of it was wrong, that it was all, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Whenever we would leave, it was so depressing. It was all sad to get in the car and go back to wherever we were living at the time after having spent time at grandma's and being just spoiled rotten, spoiled literally rotten with processed foods. Timing is of the essence. I've been wondering about Linda. Linda is good, Vicky. Linda is fine, and if you want, I can connect you with her. I don't know are you not friends with Linda? Diana is. Me and Vicky and Diana used to have a little gathering. We'd get together and read the Course in Miracles or other spiritual books. And I wanted to do that again, but nobody was really interested. It was the sugar crash. Yeah, it was more than just the sugar crash, though. It was that we'd gotten together oftentimes with all of our cousins and aunts and uncles. And it was, even though I really wasn't into going to church, which we would do on Sunday, you know, it was worth it to go to grandma's house by far. It was totally fun and worth it, even though we had to go to the Mormon church on Sunday. Um, there was just so many fun things. Sometimes there could be troubles. Grandma and grandpa didn't always get along perfectly. Sometimes they would get at each other's throats. But my grandma, both of them were such good people. They were such good people, and it really, their lives were really instrumental in me being the health person that I am for obvious reasons. You know, I think that I was thinking to myself, and you'll probably agree, that what a person does for a living is so very indicative, so very much of an indicator of who they are, what they represent. And my grandpa started like a hot dog stand in the 40s. That was the first thing he did, a hamburger stand. Okay. It's in this little town, Payson, Utah. It was just a hamburger stand where people, would be walking down this down the street, and there's be a guy there selling hamburgers. And eventually he bought a grocery store. And then he moved that grocery store into a bigger facility, and he owned the grocery store in the town. And that grocery store was full of all the foods that they liked to eat, and the town liked to eat. And so I thought to myself, it's no wonder my grandparents got overweight and sick, especially my grandma got overweight and sick the way they did. They could take home as much food as they wanted. It was their food. They bought it. They owned the whole freaking store. And that includes ice cream. My grandmother always had at least a half a gallon or more, usually several flavors. And all she would do is she would call grandpa at the store, which was 2 blocks away from their house. She would call grandpa just before he would come home. I remember her calling him and saying, "Hey, can you bring me home some Miracle Whip? Can you bring me home some ketchup? Can you bring me home this and that? Ice cream, pork loin, anything they wanted." and Grandpa would just go grab it off the shelf. He probably kept an itemized list of the things that he brought home, but they had as much food as they wanted to. And so I was thinking to myself that it's in my genetics. I know it is. Rogers is English. English people are very much addicted to processed foods. One of the countries that's having the hardest time with COVID is Great Britain, England and Great Britain. And it's because they're a very refined culture, and refined cultures eat refined foods. This is what I've learned. The third world countries, they've they've come to eat refined foods because of the more advanced societies introducing it to them. And there could be a backlash. There's probably already a lot of bad feelings about that. The more people realize how bad it is for them. And so it's in my genetics, and not just like on the Rogers side, but also on the Peterson side, but more so on the Rogers side of my family, to have this genetic predisposition towards processed foods. Okay. I think the American dream of going to school and going to college and getting a degree and working toward behind the desk for 50 years just to retire and sit around is the problem. There's so many things. That is so hitting the nail right on the head. It's the lifestyle. And I was thinking about that too. That's just another thing that I've been thinking about. I've been thinking about so many freaking things lately. It's no wonder I'm stressed. Yeah. That's what they do. They live that burnout lifestyle. And it's so fast. It's like, well, you have to go to college in your 20s. And then now we're up to a place of where people are thinking, okay, the perfect time to get married is at about 30, maybe 28 to 34, something like that. And then you go and you work your 9 to 5 job. They have this set criteria of what they think is that people should do, you know? And and you need to go to college. You need to go to college. And and the colleges have taken advantage of that mindset that they think that people think that what they need to do is go to college. And they've created illusion, this illusionary yet truthful space of where they were talking about it the other day, that if you don't have a degree, they won't even look at your application. And so now, with all of the different things that are happening, things are changing in that regard because they're so desperate to hire people. So I learned when I was a massage therapist that just because you're a massage therapist, that you've been to massage school and you've learned this and that, it doesn't mean that you're a very good massage therapist. That's the truth of the matter. And I'm sure that that's the truth of the matter with a whole lot of professions out there. That there are a lot of people that are a lot more talented than the ones with papers hanging on their walls. But you see, they created this system. They created this system where you had to, like, if the owner of the company was a college graduate, then he felt obligated, or he felt as though that was the way to do it, to require that people have a college degree on something that it's not legal, not even legally required to have a college degree. But it was just the thing to do. Oh, and other people and the other employees, if you changed the policy and all the other employees spent 4 years in college and $100,000, whatever, on a college education, and you required it of all of them, it wouldn't be fair to not require it of everyone now. But the thing is now, if they're forced, okay, so if the screws are being put to the owner and forcing him or her to be more open-minded about who they're hiring, then that may change. And that's what they were talking about in some video or the news. It was actually, I believe it was PBS. Okay. Once in a while, yes, they actually have something worth a you know what in on PBS. But um, but yeah, so many things have to change. And I just feel as though it would be like an escape to have a community, an escape from the idiocy of having dug themselves into this trench. Because, see, I have more inventions. I have I have several more inventions in my mind, and I have a desire to go travel and teach massage in certain circumstances that could really, really increase my income a lot. They could really bring this channel back to life. So this channel only getting 2, 3, 500, maybe even 1,000 views. That's nothing to what it used to from compared to what it used to get when I was new. And I have some combination ideas, but I have to be able to I have to be feeling really good. It takes a lot of effort to do what I'm thinking I want to do, what I can do. And see, as soon as I can do that and really get the YouTube income coming in, and as soon as I can find people to make my products for me, and all of those things are really big mountains to climb, but as soon as I can do that, then I can get the cash flowing in, and with cash, I can do some things with a community. I mean, I hate to say it, but cold, hard cash, but it's a different kind of an approach. It's a different kind of a mindset than somebody that just wants to buy materialism. I hope that you can see that. It's not that I'm wanting to buy a new car. I'm wanting to reduce the cars to 1 or 2 cars for the whole community. That's part of the whole thing. Getting away from all of the things that are causing the world and our minds and our bodies, everything so much, and the animals, so much stress and pain. The only way that we can do it is to come together. And the only way that people can really come together, I mean, one way that people can really come together is to do something like this and to set an example. Because as soon as you create something like this, I mean, over time anyway, people are going to become interested. That's why I started the other channel, Holistic Homesteading Eco Village. I want to build that. But because of the United States problems reason, I can't tell you for sure that it'll even be here. You know, the educational system failed us. Only a few professions made it good. I want it so bad to be a mental health therapist, but as you say, Brett, nobody will even look my way until I've gained that piece of paper on my wall. Yeah, I'll tell you, Wavy, something that you can do is to become a hypnotherapist. You can even get a piece of paper on your wall as a hypnotherapist. And when you become a hypnotherapist, you also kind of become a counselor. You don't call yourself a counselor, but it's a shade of gray in between in which you can do that and do something that you really desire to do without having to go through all the red tape. I'm even considering doing that because doing hypnotherapy is something that you can do online with people. It doesn't have to be. It's better in person, but you can still do it online. So it's something that's super versatile. And so I have Mercury in Leo, as Mercury and Venus together in Leo. And so it's really perfect for me. I have a calming voice that people say soothes them. And that's really important. And thank you for all those hearts, Michael. And thank you for the donation. And I really appreciate you. And I hope that you have a nice night and all of that. But let me drink some water. But yeah, it's just like, see, it's kind of scary and it's kind of comforting to know how things are. And how things are is overexpanded and bloated and overblown and extreme and there's no one particular way to explain how it got to where it is. There are so many things that we're shedding our skin for. We're shedding our skin in so many different ways. Just think about how hundreds of years ago, a lot of people killed their own animals. They killed their own meat to eat. They either raised it or they hunted it, and they had to do it themselves. And the act of doing that is a violent thing. And so nowadays, look at people. Most people don't have to kill their own animals. And in a way, that's a very, very good thing because they're living a less violent life. It's one of the things that people used to do that was the most violent thing. And people would go to wars. It was kind of like, it seemed to me from looking at human history that it was a regular thing for people to go to war. And now, as a substitute, we have nuclear weapons largely that prevent us from invading other countries. You know, it's not detriment, the things that persuades governments to stay put and not to even if they feel though they have a bigger army and they could just invade people like back in World War II. Well, now you can't just, even the United States is prevented from invading North Korea or doing something aggressive towards North Korea for not just that reason, but for the China reason and all, like we're so dependent on without this mouse and without those speakers and this computer and damn near everything that I own is made in China. So we can't do anything aggressive towards North Korea. There's just all these different things that are evolving into and melding and meshing into another thing. But the meat thing is like now people eat poor quality meat. They eat a lot more poor quality meat and they watch violent sports on TV instead of going to war and or killing animals, their own animals. They're, let's see, if you change your diet, you learn that you have to get adequate substitutes because you can't just go from a complete like dairy hog to somebody that doesn't eat anything that's like dairy, like similar to dairy at all. You have to have adequate substitutes. And so if you place that in the context of human evolution and change, and you look at some of the more extreme things that people did in the past, and the things that they, those things they need to get rid of, then they're going to have to find some other fairly extreme things to do in order for them to, but not as extreme, in order for them to be able to transition their way into the new existence, into a new place. And so, if you examine these things in your mind, then you come to this conclusion eventually that everyone is where they're supposed to be. They must be. And that God is in control of all of this. But at the same time, if you've evolved beyond the typical American lifestyle, then you have to come to this like place of where you're like, it's driving you nuts. It's driving you nuts, the things that people do, where I'm at now. Okay? The loneliness from not being able to connect with people that are like you, you know? And sometimes I even liken it to somebody that's really popular, like for instance Elvis. Elvis was a really lonely person. A lot of people that become celebrities, in a way, if they don't find other people that are like them to hang out with, and that can be somewhat difficult sometimes, especially if you're like Michael Jackson or Elvis, and you're just placed on this pedestal that's beyond anybody else. Like imagine, who can you hang out with? Who can you talk to about things, you know? And so for me, my mind is like that I have examined things and refined my lifestyle to this point that it's not like it's untouchable. It's just that around in a small town like this where I live, I mean, imagine trying to find anyone to hang out with. There's only a few people. And for me, with all my angst towards people, all the things, all the bad feelings that I have about this and that, it makes it even worse. I am so connected to so many of us who think alike and see the world as it is without all the filters and fairy tales. Technology had a bright future, but man's greed is what ruined that along. Technology had a bright future, but man's greed is what ruined that along with so many other things. Yeah. All this pain that we're feeling right now has to do with something that's going on in the world. And it's not just COVID. Okay, so creation has an intelligence. It has a real mind. It doesn't just react, as one person on Facebook put it the other day. It doesn't just react back at whatever you give it. It's way beyond anything that we can understand as human beings. I've always believed that there are spirits, that after we die, we may become one of those spirits that helps the mortal humans that they were connected to, or they have some kind of a connection to be able to deal with their mortality, this life, this crazy, freaking life. So years ago, when I was thinking about things, when I would be talking to someone and I was thinking about things, most of the time I had my head down. And that was a sign, that was a bad sign of where my mind was, where my body was. Now I tend to look more up when I'm thinking about things, and that is a good sign. It means that I've changed my posture and I've changed my attitudes largely, and I've done a lot of cleansing, massive amount of cleansing. I imagine that I cleaned out my organs first, my body, cleaned out the most, tackled, it knew what, even though my mind, see, and even though your minds, they don't know really all of the processes that are going on in your bodies. Your body knows what it needs to heal first and foremost. It knows how to prioritize its own healing. You need nutrients going into your body, and I found a long time ago that the digestive system has to heal. It has to be put at the first and forefront of your healing. I think I did a lot of healing of my digestive system in the very beginning. I had a lot of pain about 10 years after I started my healing journey. I had about a 5-year period of healing pain from my alcoholic father, where I healed most of that. You could think of it like like jobs that you have to do throughout your day. You could compare it to that. Like, oh, I need to do this job for a while first. I need to do that for a while. Then I need to do that. And you prioritize the things that are most important to do first. And your body, it knows. I just know from experience that your body knows which things it needs to heal and in which order. And your subconscious mind probably also knows. Your conscious mind is just going through your daily, it's making the decisions that you need to make to be able to make a living, to be able to take care of daily chores, etc. But your subconscious mind, and who knows what parts of your mind and your body, are coordinating your healing in the order that it needs to be healed based on where you're at, where your health is. And the things that are most damaged, those things will be healed first. And you just need, all you need to do is listen to your body and give it what it needs. And it's really important not to get caught up or too, people will get, because especially when they're new, especially when they're green to healing, to natural healing, and they've just been conditioned to listen to what doctors or their family or even natural health practitioners are telling them, they'll listen to those people more than their own body. Their own body could be screaming for a piece of meat, and their best friend is vegan, and they're telling them that what they really need to do is go all vegan, or their best friend could be, or their parents could be Catholics. And and what this person really needs is something completely different than anything they have to offer, but they haven't come to this realization, they haven't come to this independence, this place of independence, this Aquarian, for those of you that like astrology. You haven't come to this Aquarian state of being to where they can trust and listen to and then act upon their very own needs of what their minds and their bodies are telling them. I'm here making this video tonight because I'm stuck. I'm not totally stuck because I have a lot of things that I can do. But in some regards, I'm stuck. I'm a stuck. To better understand myself, my mind, my emotions, to understand that everything I've seen and heard made me what I am. For 20 years, I held on to so much hatred and anger towards my abusive, abandoning father. I carried myself in ways I was never even aware of until I started to tear myself apart from the inside. Feel you, bro, stuck. Yeah, a lot of us right now feel stuck because everything is stuck. The trucks are stuck, the boats are stuck at the docks, the the shipping container boats and the shipping containers and all the goods are stuck. And that is just part of things, you know. If I can't get this material soon, this this twill is what it is, the twill that I make the inner pillow out of for my pillows, I'll figure something out. I checked on the millet holes like I told you before. Sorry if I'm kind of all over the place, but that's how my mind is right now, and I'm just kind of mentally vomiting here. I'm just mentally puking all over the computer. But the millet holes are probably okay, even though my guy that's my millet hole supplier, a couple of years ago he had a heart attack, or no, I think it was a stroke. So I know he's not in the best health either. And now with all of this that's going on, he's stuck. He was even stuck in replying to me today. And I asked him how he was doing. He wasn't doing well. He wasn't doing well. Everyone should go research luminality. I don't know that people should research luminality if that has to do with the what their names are, what their names are. The I can't even remember what it's called. The so-called secret society of people. Is that what you're talking about? Liminal spaces on YouTube. Maybe it's something different. I don't know. But yeah, I think that we're in a place where the energy is it's really low. It's really low right now. And it's just where we have to be to come out the other side. It's where we have to be. And not having, I kind of think I feel better. I kind of think I feel better sometimes with talking to this computer and reading your responses than I do sometimes with talking directly to friends on the phone for some reason, and I can't really explain that. It like gives me a chance to completely open my mind and just empty the whole thing out. Um, I still wish there was some way that I could find a different, create a different. I don't like being stuck with Facebook. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? That's another thing. Stuck with Facebook as being your one sole social media, Facebook and YouTube. I like to have, I just wish there were alternatives. The other day I found a good alternative for buying boxes, and I bought boxes for $106 or something. And then I compared the price that it would have been on Uline, and I saved $45. And that's what I'm talking about, like, and I received the boxes, and the boxes are just about as good a quality. In fact, the regular shipping boxes, and I've tried different boxes from different companies, and not all of them are. But this Price Point or whatever company, I can't remember the name of it. I'm looking for it on the computer. I got just as good a boxes, and I saved a lot on shipping and on the boxes. So I just wish that I had some kind of a legitimate alternative to Facebook, at least Facebook. YouTube, I'm kind of dealing with that, you know. I know what not to say on YouTube. Anything with the vaccine and making any kind of a recommendation against the CDC, blah, 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 is a no-no on YouTube because they're controlled by them. The government, they've got the military, they've got the money, they've got the everything to control everything else. But the only social media I have is YT, YouTube. I refuse to join other stuff. I don't want a large digital print. Anyways, I think I need to eat a few pieces of fruit. I'm starting to get low on glycogen, and so I better go and shut down for tonight. But it's really cool that y'all have joined me and that you've, you know, considered my viewpoints and opinions and all of that. And my kind of down energy, my definitely down energy to they want to feel that other people are feeling like they are. They're thinking the same things that they are. If you watch my channel and you enjoy what I have to say, you've watched my videos from the past, that's probably the case. We're probably feeling a lot of and thinking a lot of the same things lately. I wish more people would comment. Right now we have 20 people on, and we only have about, in fact, for the whole session here, and it's really, I have to tell you, I really have to tell you that that's one of the things that depresses me. I wish that a lot more, like, I know that hundreds and hundreds, probably up by now, it's been like a long time. It's been 3 hours and 11 minutes. I've been on this thing for 3 hours and 11 minutes. And I would guess that 500 people have watched this. At least 400 people have tuned in tonight. And out of those 400, maybe 15 have commented. And that kind of is like, I just wish that that were a lot more. I just don't. I wish people were more, what's the word? Like, actually unfriended someone for being so timid. So timid, you know. I just got tired of her timidity. And I just was just kind of like, I just wish people were more open and saying their opinions and thinking about and you know what I mean. I just wish that were the case, but it's not. It's the same thing with Facebook. Like I have 800 plus people that are on my holistic homesteading group, and only about a dozen of them total will occasionally make comments. I create all these posts. I create all these posts with, interesting subjects and opinions about things. And I don't get very many people like Sunny has opinions. Sunny Moon has opinions about things, and she'll comment. Um, my better friends are the ones that have opinions and make comments and give thumbs ups and thumbs downs and hearts and stuff. That's what I really like. But most people, including you guys, most of you, I don't get that. I mean, it's really cool that this person Wavy is making comments and stuff. I really appreciate that, and I really like to read good comments and well thought out thinker comments. That shouldn't bring you down, Brett. It's better to have less people in a room who would actually and genuinely be focused into the conversation rather than a room full of people who don't care. Yeah, but I like to have a lot of people that are focused and do care, you know? There's just not as many open self-thinkers nowadays, and a lot of people are on autopilot and living their routine zombie life. I guess. It's like people have to be backed into a corner before they'll react. It's like they have to wait until, thank God there are assertive people in our world. Without assertive people, I mean, this is the United States even. There are more assertive people than there are in most countries. China is a whole country full of people that are just sheep. Those of you that are watching this right now that have never made a comment on my channel, if you don't have a Gmail account, I really wish that you would go and start a Gmail account so that you could have a YouTube account and make comments on my videos. It just, it's one of the things. I mean, good comments, encouraging comments. It's one of the things, the reasons why I'm a YouTuber. One of the things I look forward to as from being a YouTuber. Um, yeah. So I think that's all I want to say tonight. Thanks, Jackson, and Michael, and also Michael, the other Michael, for donations. I really appreciate that. And the comments, it's really awesome. I try to look, I try to be, look at the positive, which are the good comments that are on there, and not focus on the negative. But sometimes it's good to make light of that in hopes that some people will get some assertion and change and be more appreciative, or at least like when I was out filming the other day and trying to get people to answer the questions from the video that the 19 questions, some of them said that they were too shy and stuff like that. I got a lot of that. Probably about 8 people, probably about 8 people said that they weren't into being on YouTube. They didn't want to be seen, that they were shy, this and those kinds of things. But I think it's good to open up and and start being one of the people. Like, we don't want to, all of us assertive people, we don't want to just have to take the lead all the time. And we need encouragement. We need people to tell us their thoughts. We need people to actually have thoughts, that matter. Because if you don't, I mean, Like Ron DeSantis from Florida said, I'll read to you what he said. Emily's going to have a baby tomorrow. What was that? It's on my homepage. I'll read it to you. It's a perfect example. It's an absolutely perfect example. He says, we've gone from 15 days to slow the spread to 3 jabs and keep your job. I'm going to read that again. We've gone from 15 days to slow the spread to 3 jabs to keep your job. If you don't give resistance to this, they're going to absolutely do more. Okay? So that's what I'm talking about with speaking up. We can't just be like people in Russia or some communist country, you know. We have to stay vigilant here. And you can practice by making some comments on my videos. And if you say something that's, you know, you don't particularly like what I had to offer in the video, that's okay, as long as you're not like a dickhead. And as long as it makes sense what you're saying, that's cool. You know, I don't block people for those things. Anyways, thanks everybody for joining me. The only thing keeping me back from that is the lack of a PC camera and a mic, but I'm working on that. Yeah, Joe, that doesn't fly anymore. You've been working on that for years now. Thanks, Vicky. I just cut it today. I let it grow out a little bit, but yeah, I just, you know, I've got a Flowbee. I let it, I cut it with a little bit longer of spacers. Thanks, Vicky. Good night, everybody. Good night, Sonny. Thanks, Jackson. Bye.